Are there enough body positive, slogans floating around? Yes, there are. So you open up your Instagram, you're bombarded with a lot of, body positivity. You are okay the way you are. But deep down inside, we still, strive to become perfect. We still strive to, go to the gym every day and, shed a bit of pounds from our body and, probably look like a fashion model, right? That is ingrained in our minds. That is wired in our heads. So उसको change करने के लिए I think एक societal change बहुत जरूरी है. Because अगर हम खुद को as a model देखना चाहते हैं, and then if we talk about body positivity, inclusion and gender neutral fashion, वो authentic नहीं लगेगा, right? So अगर मेरी magazine में if I have like a petite model, a very chiseled model on the cover in every issue, and now I'm talking about yes, we need to have men on the cover as well, we need to have all sorts of representation on the cover, then it looks very nutty, it looks very weird, and nobody would believe that. But like the way I talked about representation, so there needs to be a lot of representation. You need to see people doing a lot of things. Like for example, if you talk about LGBTQIA community, all you can think about is fashion design, right? So that is like a sad truth of our society, that we only look at things in one way. We have a polarized way of looking at things. LGBTQIA is not only about fashion. So blame Bollywood or blame Hollywood or blame fashion industry. We all are a part of it.
हेलो सैसी नारी, ये है लिटिल फिक्सेस पॉडकास्ट विद मी मैत्री, जहां हम बात करते हैं मेंटल हेल्थ, फ्रीडम, रिलेशनशिप्स और पर्सनल ग्रोथ के स्मॉल बट माइटी स्टेप्स की, बिकॉज बड़ा चेंज छोटी छोटी फिक्सेस से ही आता है. सो फैशन गेट्स डिसमिस्ड एज फ्रिवलस वे टू ऑफन, बट द ट्रूथ इज what we wear isn't just about looking good, it's about power. It's about identity. It's about saying that this is who I am. Sometimes loudly, sometimes quietly, sometimes in spite of what the world expects from us. So आज हम बात कर रहे हैं कि फैशन फेमिनिस्ट कैसे हो सकता है. Not just in slogans on t-shirts, but in who gets to be seen, who gets to belong, and who gets to decide what's beautiful. And we are doing it with someone who has been shaping that narrative from inside the fashion world. A magazine editor who knows exactly how the industry is shifting. मैं बात कर रही हूँ अनुजा माथुर से, who is the founder and editor-in-chief of Popp Dapp. From collaborating with Marvel Studios and Amazon Prime Video to featuring global icons like Jennifer Lopez and Shah Rukh Khan, her magazine is a cultural force. Popp Dapp is a fashion portal and magazine trying to project a varied sense of understanding of the fashion world. We'll talk about how style can challenge gender norms, include queer and non-binary voices, and yes, we will touch on how motherhood changes how we show up in the world. So whether you are into power suits, sari drapes or sweatpants, this one's for you. Please help me bring more such conversations to you. Subscribe to Little Fixes on YouTube and follow us on your podcast app. Hi Anuja, welcome to Little Fixes.
How are you?
Very good, and thank you so much for being on the podcast. And today
Thank
we
you
are
so much
talking
for
about,
having me.
yes, it's my pleasure. And we are talking about fashion today, and we are also talking about feminism. We will also discuss motherhood, like all things are related for today's episode. So let's start at the core. So,
I'm more than
what
happy to be a part of it.
yes. And tell us what makes fashion feminist according to you? Like clothes हैं, कौन उनको पहन रहा है, ये सब चीज़ें कौन डिसाइड करता है कि क्या इन है, क्या आउट है?
Okay, so Maitri, before we start with our conversation of what is feminist being, or what how fashion is feminist in its nature, first of all let's understand what exactly feminism means. And it's a definition that's been like used from ages since now, but the thing is that it's very unique, it's very different from person to person, right? So as far as my experience of my life is concerned, I think feminism is more about equity rather than equality. Right now we talk about women are not different from men, they're equal to men. But as far as my understanding goes, there are a lot of times wherein we need bit more than what men require from the society, and a lot of times we are okay having less. right? So this society that we're living in, it survives on balance, right? So if we are doing, for example, 20%, if a man is doing 80%, so it's fine at times because the roles will be reversed after a point of time. Right. So,
Mm,
as far as my understanding goes, I think feminism is more about being considerate about the society that we live in. Right. So no
mhm,
matter if we are a female or a male, or right now we have like a continuum of genders going on around us. So it doesn't matter which gender we lie in.
mm,
It's all about being considerate, being thoughtful about the people who are there surrounding us. Right. So when we talk now, coming to your point, which is how fashion is feminist. So fashion has always been very gender neutral in its manner. Right. But when we talk about it being a bit towards the feminism diaspora, so it dates back to the First World War or the Second World War, wherein the whole concept of fashion started. So now you'd ask me a question that why we're talking about international fashion only, because that time India was fighting with freedom. It was it was being ruled by different dynasties and stuffs like that. So once we have like food in our stomach and roof on top of our head, then only we can think about luxury. And fashion as a concept has always been about the luxury, a step ahead of our normal, like, roti kapda and makan. So, kapda is the basic necessity. But when we talk about fashion, like, how would that kapda be? So that is still a question to be discussed about, right? So when we talk about the First World War or the Second World War, that time there were a lot of fashion designers, there were a lot of seamstresses who were there, who used to give a particular kind of a address to the women who were left behind from the soldiers who were there on the war, right? But once they came back, and the ones who didn't come back from the war, so they were all alone. The women were all alone, and they needed to earn for their families. They needed to survive after they were all alone left after the war. Right. So at that time, it was a dire need for them to earn themselves, to get out on the streets, to get out into the market, to work in the different scenarios. So the dresses that they were wearing before that, that needs a major transformation, because now we're talking about 20s and 30s. So that time you can imagine like corsets and the petticoats, long gowns. So you cannot work in those attires. Those uniforms need to be changed. So that was the need of the art at that time, and the concept of feminism came out from from that point of time, right? So for me, I think the major the major point at which feminism started was the point wherein there was a need for the women to be heard. They wanted the society to hear their voice. Like right now the definition is completely different. Right now we are not fighting the war of being heard or being, or probably voting in the society, but that time it was the necessity for the women to vote, to be the part of the society. Right now our struggles are different, and right now I think the biggest struggle for females altogether is the safety. We are not safe in the society that we are living in. And safety comes from the participation of male candidates as well. So we cannot
mm,
seclude them altogether. Right? So the society altogether has always been running on participation, on codependence. So, when I see kids nowadays talk about, we are sufficient, women can, live alone, they can do everything alone. So it's a bit funny for me, because I cannot survive with my father. I cannot survive with my without my brother. Right? So I need male candidates in my life to make my life fulfilling. It's not that I cannot do things alone. It's not that, I'm not independent or something like that. I'm financially dependent right now with God's grace. I do what I love doing. But the thing is that for me to call my life fulfilling, and the thing that gives me happiness, is having every kind of a family member, every kind of a gender around me. I have my male friends, I have my brother, I have my father, and a lot of times I depend on them. And it doesn't make me weak on those times, because a lot of times the roles are reversed. They depend on me on financial advices, on let's say, how to take care of certain things. Because women are always, caretakers. They've always been the nurturers, right? So you cannot take that fact, away from the women, right? So right now we are, standing tall in the society. We are, doing everything on our own, which is good. And it's, I think, need of the hour as well. And every girl has a different story altogether. So it's just the kind of life I have seen around me. I come from a privileged background wherein I can talk about these things. There are a lot of girls who don't have that kind of a privilege to even understand what's going on. Right? So this is what I think the basic correlation between fashion and feminism is.
हम्म। ओके। और फेमिनिज्म की बात करें तो एक बहुत जो उसमें एक विचारधारा बोल सकते हैं, एक्सट्रीम है, विच इज चॉइस फेमिनिज्म। अब
Right.
उसमें भी उसके भी मतलब प्रो में भी लोग हैं, अगेंस्ट भी लोग हैं कि चॉइस फेमिनिज्म में जैसे अगर हम फैशन से रिलेट करें तो फिर सम गर्ल्स विल से कि अगर मुझे बैकलेस पहनना है तो ये मेरी चॉइस है, इट मेक्स मी फील पावरफुल और वट एवर। मुझे लिपस्टिक पहनना पसंद है। तो डू यू थिंक कि वी आर गिविंग इनटू मेल गेज, मेल स्टैंडर्ड्स बाय डूइंग दैट, or is it really powerful, really because we are making a choice, because we think we are making a choice? I mean, there are so many layers to it. तो इसमें इसके बारे में आपके क्या थॉट्स हैं?
Okay, so Maitri, इसका base हम समझते हैं, right? So when we talk about choice feminism, or like we are choosing to be feminist, or we are choosing to be, look a certain way in order to be claimed as a feminist. So let's just understand what's the context behind it. If, for
Mhm.
example, a girl is wearing a pencil skirt and a red lipstick, so she looks like she is very elegant, she is very bold, she must be working in a corporate, or a lot of connotations go behind that. But the basic concept of bringing in feminism, inclusion, and acceptance in the industry is the fact that taking away all those parts from these contexts, from this concept altogether. For example, if we talk about choosing to be a feminist, why are we even talking about that? If you are a feminist, if I am a feminist, if I believe in equality, if I believe in equity, why do I have to wear it on my head? I can wear a burqa, I can wear a sari, I can wear a salwar suit and still be a feminist. In this concept, I think it's very important for us to understand that where it all starts from. It starts from the concept of what we are actually bringing to the table. How are we useful for the society? If you are equipped enough, if you are intelligent enough, you have learned it enough, if you have read a lot of books, if you know what's happening in the world, even if you're wearing a lehenga and sitting on a platform, nobody is going to connotate that lehenga as a part of being a feminist or not, because you are talking sense, you're talking about things which are relevant in this world, you are bringing something to the table, you are useful for your organization, you are you cannot be disposed of very easily. So I think it all starts from the concept of understanding what a self assurance is, right? How are we equipped enough, how are we knowledgeable enough to update the society? And this choice feminism, I think it is a very gray sector to talk about, because it means different things to different people. And different people
Mm.
talk about these things on different platforms depending on their knowledge. So,
Mhm.
we think of this society as a very uniform thing, but it actually is not. Nothing is
Mhm.
uniform. Our society, I mean, I have taken this term, I think, a lot many times, that society. But society is I think, it itself is a is a continuum in its manner. If I am sitting in a tier one city and if I'm talking about feminism, I think it's acceptable everywhere. But if you go to tier two, tier three cities of India, it will be very difficult for us to make those girls, those women understand the mere concept of it. It's not only
Mhm.
about wearing what you want to and just being where you want to. It's about understanding the repercussions of it. राइट, अगर मैं रात को
Mhm.
12 बजे निकल के डिस्को जाना चाहूँ, सो दैट डजंट मेक मी अ फेमिनिस्ट, दैट डजंट मेक मी अ इक्वालिटी, एन एडवोकेट ऑफ एन इक्वालिटी, ऑफ इक्वालिटी इन दिस सोसाइटी, बिकॉज उस केस में मुझे बहुत सारे फैक्टर्स देखने पड़ेंगे। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर हमारी सोसाइटी सेफ नहीं है, सो इट्स अ फैक्ट, राइट? हम लोग डिस्कस करते हैं एक आइडियलिस्टिक सोसाइटी के बारे में, दैट हाउ आइडियली अ सोसाइटी नीड्स टू बी, बट अभी वो
Mhm.
सिचुएशन नहीं है इंडिया में। एंड आई थिंक आगे आने वाले 10 साल 20 साल में भी वो सिचुएशन नहीं होगी। सो ये
Yeah.
फैक्ट अगर हमें अपने माइंड में अगर हम रखते हैं एंड देन वी डिस्कस अबाउट दीज कॉन्सेप्ट, तो काफी इजी होता है लोगों को समझने के लिए, बिकॉज आइडियली हमारे हमारे जनरेशन को बहुत ही फ्री हो जाना चाहिए था। आइडियली इस सोसाइटी को इतना ओपन होना चाहिए था कि जहाँ पे रात को 12 बजे अगर कोई लड़की बाहर जाना चाहे तो शी कैन गो ऑन हर ओन। शी डजंट नीड अ सुपरविजन ऑफ अ फादर और अ ब्रदर और अ बॉयफ्रेंड और अ हस्बैंड फॉर दैट मैटर। बट क्या वो सिचुएशन है? नहीं है। सो लेट्स टॉक अबाउट फैक्ट्स। Let's not talk about the fantasy land altogether. And I think being in the media world, it gives us that power to advocate people about that. So this is my kind of a knowledge and my perspective about how the choice feminism is affecting the society.
Uh-huh. So it is affecting the society. It is obviously fashion is part of society, तो उसको इम्पैक्ट करेगा ही। तो
Right.
जो ये सब चीज़ें हैं कि फैशन और प्लस अगर हम बात करें फैशन कैंपेन्स की, एडिटोरियल्स की, ये सब जो है, इसमें क्या फेमिनिनिटी का कॉन्सेप्ट पहले से अभी तक इवॉल्व हुआ है? क्या हम अभी भी वही एस्पायरेशनल चीज़ें सेल कर रहे हैं? इफ आई लुक एट अ वोग, आई कैन सी कि हाँ, अभी भी मतलब ऑब्वियसली इट हैज़ चेंज्ड, बट ऐसा नहीं है कि यू कैन सी योरसेल्फ देयर। नॉट अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल कैन सी देमसेल्व्स देयर। दे आर सेलिंग एस्पायरेशन, बट चेंज इज़ ऑल्सो कमिंग। तो कहाँ हैं अभी हम?
So, Maitri, I think we are in a flux right now. We are in the middle of a change, what we call it as like the eye of the storm right now. So we are slowly and steadily getting there. So like the way you have talked about the fashion campaigns or spreads in the magazine. So when we design our spreads at Pop Dapp, we make sure that we are projecting the part of the society which people wants to see. Right now, this is also like a very double-edged sword. Why? Because what sells in the market and what needs to be sold in the market, they are totally different concepts. Right? So, because every organization that we're talking about right now, even Vogue, Elle, Bazaar, so all these magazines have been there in the market since ages right now. So they have the authority, they have the kind of power right now to rebuild the society altogether. But then again, the kind of narratives that we see around us, they are very much affected by the PR system, that how the marketing needs to be, these fashion campaigns and fashion spreads. So they are, they look like a picture in the magazine, but it's like a whole lot of a gamut of things that goes behind that, like stylists, like photographers, like models, like the creative directors and the production team and advertisers, the brands that we are showcasing in the shoots. So it cannot be a one person's choice to make it in a certain way. But being the editor of the magazine, I think kind of the power lies in the editor's hands, because I get to choose what needs to be there in the magazine or not. But then again, I need to pay my employees. I need to take care of my house as well. So when we start normalizing these things, when we don't look at a fashion campaign as just a picture, if we start looking at it as a amalgamation of a lot of things, then only we can understand that it's not one concept that comes out. It's about a holistic image that comes out. But yes, like the way that you've asked, that is our society changing, is our representation of the society changing? Yes, it is. But the speed is slow, the pace is slow. How it needs to be, and how and the space that we are moving right now, it's very different. It needs to be faster. But then again, a lot of hindrances are coming our way. We are sitting in the war ourselves, so everyone is aware of the kind of macro environment we are living in. So things are changing, but let's hope for a faster change in the future.
उहुँ। हाँ, आई ऑल्सो थिंक कि मतलब ऑथेंटिसिटी भी रहेगी और थोड़ा-सा वो जो परफॉर्मेटिव साइड होती है कि
Right.
दिखाने के लिए भी कर रहे हैं, जैसे जून आया तो एलजीबीटीक्यू को आप दिखाने लग गए, मार्च आया तो वुमेन को दिखाने लग गए, मई आया तो मदर्स को दिखाने लग गए, तो परफॉर्मेटिव होता है, बट ऑथेंटिसिटी भी ज़रूरी है और आई थिंक the ratio of authenticity has increased slowly, which is a good
Yeah.
thing. But I still feel that people are getting left out of the fashion conversation, especially अगर हम सिर्फ जेंडर की बात नहीं है, उसके सिवा अगर हम देखें तो क्लास की बात हो जाए और रेस की बात हो जाए और body type, like it is everywhere but still no substantial change we have seen. तो who, according to you, is getting left out of this conversation?
I think everyone that needs to be heard in the society right now is getting left out from these conversations. So even if we talk about body positivity or gender neutrality, androgynous fashion, or fashion being classist. So these are the facts which are there in the fashion ecosystem. Right. So a lot of unheard voices are there. And the major reason behind that is that we understand a concept when it comes out from the mouth of a person who's well spoken, who has the power to communicate in a better way. And for that, I think English is very important, right? So if we
Mhm.
want to be heard on a public platform in front of a larger audience, we need to be affluent enough to talk about our problems. So that is, I think, the main hindrance behind a lot of people being unheard of. But then again, we
Mhm.
as a society, we as an industry, we need to be more representative in that manner, right? So, are there enough body positive, slogans floating around? Yes, there are. So you open up your Instagram, you're bombarded with a lot of, body positivity. You are okay the way you are, but deep down inside, we still, strive to become perfect. We still
Mhm.
strive to go to the gym every day and shed a bit of pounds from our body and probably look like a fashion model, right? So that is ingrained in our minds, that is wired in our heads. So उसको चेंज करने के लिए आई थिंक एक सोसाइटल चेंज बहुत जरूरी है, बिकॉज अगर हम खुद को एज अ मॉडल देखना चाहते हैं एंड देन इफ वी talk about body positivity, inclusion, and gender neutral fashion, then वो authentic नहीं लगेगा, right? So अगर मेरी magazine में if I have like a petite model, a very chiseled model on the cover in every issue, and now I'm talking about yes, we need to have men on the cover as well, we need to have all sorts of representation on the cover, then it looks very nutty, it looks very weird, and nobody would believe that. But like the way I talked about representation, so there needs to be a lot of representation. You need to see people doing a lot of things. Like for example, if you talk about LGBTQIA community, all you can think about is fashion designer, right? So that is
Mhm.
like a sad truth of our society, that we only look at things in one way. We have a polarized way of looking at things, right? So LGBTQIA is not only about fashion. The people from
Mhm.
that community needs to be there in every type of a profession. They need to be lawyers, they need to be doctors, they need to be engineers, they need to be coders, they need to be everyone. So now these limitations have been brought by us only, because we are seeing them doing atypical kind of a thing since ages right now. So blame Bollywood or blame Hollywood or blame fashion industry. We all are a part of it, because when we talk about a particular, for example, if we talk about a fat chick, we think of her as being funny. But why is always
Mhm.
that? Why are fat chicks always funny? So that narrative needs to be changed. For example, if you talk about a dusky girl, so we always think of her like very glamorous, very, very bold, very,
Got it.
yeah, yeah, of course. So why do we have those connotations, those, but the thing is that it's inter-affectation as well. The way society is affecting industry, in the same way, industry is also affecting society. So when we talk about Bollywood, I think it's very, easy to understand when we look at Bollywood or Hollywood. So we have always seen alien invasions in Hollywood. We have not seen that in Bollywood. So that doesn't mean that if aliens are coming to our Earth, they would only come to US. They can come to any part of the world, right? So it's
Yeah.
the narrative that's been built, right? So Hanumanji would be there in India only. So who said that? So these kind of narratives, we have grown up listening to these stories, and as human beings, as Homo sapiens, I think we are drawn towards stories. So who is saying what? If you are saying your story in a very funny way, so I would listen to you, and I would abide by those facts. So this is the hard truth of the society, and this is how human beings actually are. We are not truth seekers. We would not go in the mountains, and we would sit and think about how the society is changing and how should we do it. We are acceptance seekers. We believe in societies. We believe in communities. And the more we believe in communities, the more we start abiding by those rules that's been built by the communities, right? So these representations needs to be changed, and it's changing. I mean, when we see the documentaries or the kind of the Netflix series that we see, so there we see a lot of change happening. We see a lot of different ethnicity people doing different things that we have not seen before,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
So yeah,
सो इस चीज़ में कॉन्वर्सेशन में मैं मदरहुड को भी लाना चाहूँगी बिकॉज़ अ लॉट ऑफ माय लिसनर्स आर मदर्स। तो जब हम मदर्स बन जाते हैं, तो हमारा जो रिलेशनशिप है फैशन से वो चेंज हो जाता है।
hmm,
एक तो बॉडी चेंज हो जाती है, सबसे बड़ा चेंज तो वही है। और उसकी वजह से वी हैव टू मेक डिफरेंट फैशन चॉइसेस बिकॉज़ नॉट everybody can go back to their pre-pregnancy body which is like everywhere on social media कि कितनी जल्दी आप वापस जा सकते हो even though we are trying to change the conversation it's not easy to change तो फैशन से जो उनका रिलेशनशिप है वो चेंज होता है एंड कहीं ना कहीं मदर्स फील कि हाँ उनकी आइडेंटिटी खो गई है चेंज हो गई है तो ये जो कॉम्प्लिकेशन है और इस फैशन और मदरहुड का, इसके बारे में डू यू हैव एनी थॉट्स?
absolutely, Maitri. So when we talk about motherhood, I think a pregnant woman is constantly at a war with her body. She is constantly seeing herself changing every single day, every single month. And these are not just physiological changes, these are also psychological changes. उसको काफ़ी एक्सेप्टेंस चाहिए उसके सोसाइटी से, उसकी फैमिली से, उसके फ्रेंड्स से। बट द थिंग इज़ दैट शी इज़ अलोन इन दैट वॉर। व्हाई? Because she is the one who's seeing all those changes happening in her body. One day she is happy, day she is sad, one day she is moody, other day she is all energetic. So when your body is constantly at war, you don't need to, confine to a particular trend set which is set by the society. So I think fashion, as as somebody from the fashion industry, I think these kind of a changes are being noticed. Designers are working on that. There are a lot of brands who have brought in maternity clothes, but that is like a very transactional thing which is there in society. It's not something that is like, it's okay to have a body which is not like your previous one. Post your pregnancy, you don't need to look like the way that you looked before. Your body has changed and it's okay, just move ahead with that. So there are a lot of brands that have maternity clothes, but that is also that's only for the time a girl is in her labor, or the kind of the time that she is in her pregnancy state. But those fashion choices she cannot take for a lifetime altogether. So for
Mhm.
right now, what we need like a 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. government, wherein a girl can work, a girl can go to the office, she can breastfeed, she can see her toddler moving around every time. So that kind of an inclusion needs to be there in the fashion as well. So are there enough brands who are working on that? No. Do they are they thinking enough about this concept? No. So there needs to be more conversation around that. That's why I talk about representation. If we have a better amount of representation in the movies that we see, in the Netflix series that we see, then it comes very naturally to the society to accept those things. If we see a pregnant woman going to the work, if we see even postnatal, women going to the work and working properly in the office, then it becomes very easy for us to see a girl next to us in the similar situation. So I think as an industry, we need to bring in more designers who are thoughtful about this topic, who are actually working towards the betterment of the life of a woman. So in that way, I think we are still, probably at two or three in the scale in the industry, and a lot of better, talents need to be brought into the market right now.
हुँ। हाँ, सी मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि प्रेगनेंसी को बहुत ग्लैमराइज़ किया जाता है। लाइक हम एक्ट्रेसेस को ही देख लें नाउ इट हैज़ बिकम वेरी मेनस्ट्रीम टू पोस्ट योर पिक्चर्स, टू टॉक अबाउट योर प्रेगनेंसी, टेक पीपल थ्रू योर डेज़, इन्फ्लुएंसर्स हो, इंस्टाग्राम पे कोई भी हो। बट जो उसके बाद की लाइफ़ है न्यू मदर लाइफ, उसके बारे में कोई बात नहीं करता ज़्यादा। किस तरीके की हमारी बॉडी हो जाती है उसके बारे में कोई बात नहीं करता ज़्यादा। पीपल आर जस्ट एक्सपेक्टेड टू श्रिंक बैक। और ऑब्वियसली मूवीज़ में, शोज़ में हम जो मदर्स देखते हैं वो उस वक़्त तो लगेगा कि हाँ, दे हैव पुट ऑन सम वेट और समथिंग, बट आफ्टर बेबी दे आर लाइक बैक इन देयर प्री प्रेगनेंसी बॉडी, लाइक, है ना? और फिर क्या है, जो मदर्स हैं, हम चाहते हैं कि वो मदर्स जैसी दिखें, लेकिन हाई मेंटेनेंस भी ना लगे, वो पुट टुगेदर लगें, राइट? और प्रैक्टिकल हो लेकिन बोरिंग भी ना हो। ऐसा नहीं है, मतलब अ, एक इररिलेवेंस जाने लगता है उस साइड में कि हाँ, अभी तो ये मदर बन गई है, नाउ शी इज़ नॉट माय टारगेट ऑडियंस। जबकि द फैक्ट इज़ कि अ लॉट ऑफ वुमेन आर मदर्स। आई थिंक मदरहुड, एक के बाद एक लोग मदर बन ही रहे हैं, अगर सिंपल टर्म्स में बोले तो। नहीं, देयर आर अ टन ऑफ वुमेन हु आर बिकमिंग मदर्स, who are mothers of older kids like me. My daughter is 8 years old. There are mothers who are parents to even older kids. तो there is a huge market, बट सबको एक ही स्टैंडर्ड हम सेल करते जा रहे हैं कि आपको ऐसा दिखना है, और हम कपड़े एक ही तरीके के बना रहे हैं, और ह्यूमंस अपने आप को चेंज कर रहे हैं कपड़ों के लिए कि उस आउटफिट में मुझे अच्छा दिखना है। बिकॉज व्हेन आई गो टू शॉप, मुझे भी लगता है यार ये मेरे ऊपर अच्छा नहीं लगेगा, इसमें अच्छा दिखने के लिए मैं क्या कर सकती हूँ, राइट? ये थॉट मेरे अंदर आता है। तो ये जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है पोस्टनेटल बॉडीज की हो, ये अभी किस लेवल पे पहुंची है, और इज इट स्टिल, लाइक यू आल्सो सेड, कि कंसिडर्ड अ नीश, बहुत ही कम है? तो what can be done as a, like, to bring about real changes? Obviously we are talking about it, other people are also talking about it. What else can be done?
Okay, so I think Matthew, you have touched three, four points in this thing of yours. First thing is baby bump being accepted in the society. We can see that often because right now we saw like Met Gala, Kiara Advani, she was pregnant and she she how beautifully she carried her baby bump, and so did Rihanna. So Rihanna, she wore something in which her baby bump was very visible and she flaunted it like anything. So we have come to that length wherein carrying baby bump in the society, also on the fashion pages, is considered a norm right now. So all the those photo shoots that we do, I think it's everybody is doing that, and our society has also accepted that. Now the conversation comes to a point wherein how a mother's body changes after pregnancy. So the postnatal thing, I think very few people in our society, they are they're even aware of that. There are a lot of people who are not even aware of this concept altogether. It's just that people, the girls, they become fat when they're pregnant and they shrink back to their normal size when they're not, right? But it's not that simple. It's like 2 years, 2.5 years that we have just talked about. From start from being pregnant to delivering a baby and then getting back, kind of back in your own shape. It's a journey of a year and a half altogether. And in that journey, I think if we have better fitted clothes in our wardrobe, if we don't have to think too much in what to buy, what to not, I think if we have that liberty around us, it makes the life of a woman very easy. And I think, like the way I talked about a woman being constantly at war with her body, that goes on till the time of her, kind of getting back in her own body after pregnancy as well. It's not only till the time that she's pregnant, also postnatal and, maybe, a couple of months beyond that. Right. So, it's both psychological and physiological. So maybe physiologically she looks kind of normal, but psychologically she is still struggling because she knows what all it takes to not getting back in your own genes after your delivered your baby. So it takes a toll on your psychological health as well. So if we have that kind of a market in the that kind of a designers in the market who are thinking logically, who are catering to that kind of a need, I think it'll be very it'll be very nice to have that kind of a thought system in the market. There are certain designers who are actually working in that domain. But the thing is that acceptance is not there. Why? Because we still, we look down upon these things that if you have become a mother, if you are about to deliver a baby, why do you need to look glamorous, right? So if you are a mother, if you are like a mother to a newborn, Why at all you want to, dress in a little black dress, or how, why do you want to look glamorous? So that preconceived notion is still there in our head, that a mother needs to look a certain way. So it comes from point of patriarchy as well. That a father can look young all his life, but a mother can't. Right. So it also it's rooted deep into the sense of patriarchy which is there. So are we totally out of that domain? No. We are still fighting our way to get out of it. But the thing is that it's wired so deep in our head कि वो निकलता नहीं है. Even if there are men who are feminists, you see a lot of men who are advocating feminism. But the thing is that are they implementing those concepts in their daily life? I hope not. I'm pretty sure they are not, because still there is a divide of provider and nurturer. So women are born nurturers, so they are expected to abide by that rule. But the thing is that we have also jumped into the concept of providers. So we are struggling both of these things in our hands, and the more we struggle, the more we juggle, the more arrogance that brings to our personality. Right. If, for example, if I am earning for my family and I'm also taking care of my kids, so I'll become very arrogant that I'm like self-sufficient, and since I am doing everything in my family, why do I need a man? Right. And that man becomes disposable. So you see how that is kind of rewiring our heads, that kind of rewiring our society. And that's the point where conflict starts. So the point wherein we start, getting into the conflict in our everyday life, that become makes our life hell. So it's very important for a woman, for a modern woman, a new age woman, to understand that life is not always 50-50. It's like 10-90, it's 20-80, it's vice versa. So it's not always important to fight with your with the people around you. It's very important for us to choose our battles. Who are we fighting with? Are we fighting with the society? Are we fighting with our spouses? Are we fighting with the the general concept of how the society wants the woman to look like? So what exactly are we fighting? So I think it's very important for us to choose our battles, to think very consciously that the kind of life we are living, is this the life that we wanted for us? So, in that, I think the fashion industry can be a huge help, because if we look good, we feel good. I think it's an accepted fact. So,
हाँ,
if
yes.
we have, right, so if we have like a wardrobe which has clothes that will fit our every mood, for every month, for every year. So I think it becomes easier for us to, plan our day or plan our month. If we are traveling and if we have certain clothes which are, which can be suiting for us, so I think it becomes easier for us to work. It becomes easier for us to take care of our families as well. So I think fashion plays a huge role in bringing about a change in the society, because nowadays everything is vanity around us. We are there on social media all the time. We compare our lives to everyone around us, and we want to look like them, because it's all about looking, right? We are looking at the pictures, we are looking at the videos. So we want to look like how the celebrities look, how they live their lives, how Priyanka Chopra is managing her daughter. So we want to do that. But the thing is that we don't see the kind of a background which is there in their lives. Right. So it's very important to customize our life as per our requirements, as per our understanding, as per our society. A girl sitting in a tier two city cannot compare her life to, let's say, Lady Gaga. So she needs to understand, what all changes are there. Are we any less to Hollywood people? No. But our lives are very different. Our society is very different. Our upbringing is very different. So I think
Mhm.
we are still on the way of that change. But the thing is that society is constantly changing. Right now we are having this discussion. Let's say 5 years down the line, if we have the similar discussion, we'd be on different tangent altogether. Probably
Mhm.
we have fought a war with Pakistan, and
Yeah.
things have changed tremendously. So who knows what's coming in the future. So let's hope for the best.
Yeah. आई होप कि ये जो हमारी नॉर्मल लाइफ है ना, नॉर्मल ग्राइंड, इसको कोई ग्लैमराइज कर दे तो फिर पीपल विल बी लाइक कि हाँ नहीं, मुझे भी ऐसा बनना है, मेरी भी ऐसी लाइफ होनी चाहिए। लाइक वी एडमायर कियारा आडवाणी दिस ईयर, बट अगर नेक्स्ट ईयर शी कम्स बैक विद हर बॉडी वेयर शी हैज पुट ऑन वेट, तो पीपल विल बी लाइक, अरे ये तो वैसे ही आ गई, इसने तो अपने आप पे ध्यान ही नहीं दिया, ये तो वापस ही नहीं आ
एग्जैक्टली।
पाई अपनी प्री बेबी बॉडी में। तो देयर विल ऑलवेज बी दैट। ऐश्वर्या राय के साथ होता आ रहा है, वी सी इट एवरी ईयर। तो आई थिंक अपने आप में खुश रहना, it has become very difficult even if you are happy with yourself ना, when you see other people, चाहे आप इनर वर्क करते हो, कुछ भी करते हो, इट्स नॉट ईजी कि मुझे सोशल मीडिया इम्पैक्ट नहीं करता, अरे किसी ने कुछ बोल दिया मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता। कहना आसान है आई थिंक, बट उसको फॉलो करना थोड़ा मुश्किल है। एंड आई होप वी गेट देयर, ये सब चीजें नॉर्मल जो चीजें हैं वो नॉर्मलाइज हो जाए।
करेक्ट। एंड आई
अभी
थिंक
भी नहीं है। या
आई थिंक यू वेरी राइट, क्योंकि हम बोल सकते हैं कि डोंट सी सोशल मीडिया, अपने आप को कंपेयर मत करो, एंड यू आर जस्ट गुड द वे दैट यू आर। बट वो अफेक्ट हमें करता है, एंड उसका मेजर रीजन क्या है? उसका रीजन ये है कि वी आर नॉट श्योर अबाउट आवर ओन सेल्फ एस्टीम। हमें पता ही नहीं है कि एक्चुअली में हम कुछ अच्छा कर रहे हैं कि नहीं। सो आई थिंक उस केस में एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है जो हेल्प करती है, वो है एक कांस्टेंट ग्रोथ। कि अगर हम अपने आप में हर दिन एक ऐसा चेंज ला रहे हैं जो हमारे बेटर फ्यूचर के लिए है, सो ये एक ओवरऑल सिनेरियो बनाती है हमारे दिमाग में एक बेटर सेल्फ एस्टीम का, कि नो मैटर कि आसपास के लोग क्या कह रहे हैं, बट मुझे पता है कि मैंने पिछले लेट्स से 1 साल में कितने सारे चेंजेस लाए हैं अपने अंदर। वेदर इट्स गोइंग टू द जिम एवरी डे, या फिर एक हेल्दी डाइट हो गई, या फिर एक कोर्स हो गया जो मैंने ज्वाइन किया है, या फिर एआई लर्निंग, एनीथिंग। सो आई थिंक जब एक लड़की या जब एक औरत एक कांस्टेंट ग्रोथ पे होती है, तो ये सारी चीजें अफेक्ट थोड़ा कम करती हैं। ऑफ कोर्स जीरो अफेक्टेशन नहीं हो सकता, ये सारी चीजें अफेक्ट करेंगी आपको, बट ये जो सेल्फ ग्रोथ होती है ना, ये दैट बिकम्स लाइक एन आर्मर टू योर पर्सनालिटी। It becomes a shield to your personality, that even if your spouse is saying xyz things, but you know that what are you doing for your family to run, what are you doing for your body to look a certain way. So I think in that case fashion plays a vital role, because fashion and body positivity, it goes hand in hand. For example, if you are looking good in a particular dress, you start feeling good. You start not giving too much of a बहुत ज्यादा ध्यान देना बंद कर देते हैं हम लोगों के कमेंट्स पर, बिकॉज हमने शीशे में देखा हम बहुत अच्छे लग रहे हैं खुद को। So we become happy from inside, even if it's very fragile. I think looking good is a very fragile thing, because in the morning you might look good, but in the evening you might look like a Diane altogether. But still, it changes a part of your self-esteem, which if you build upon with your knowledge, with your understanding, with your intelligence, with just knowing everything which is going on around you. I think हम अभी क्या करते हैं, हम सोशल मीडिया का जो मेजर इम्पैक्ट मुझे दिखता है लाइफ पे, वो ये है कि हम बहुत कुछ देख रहे हैं, एंड द मोर वी सी द लेसर वी थिंक। There was a time when we used to read more, and I think reading is very important, whether it's a book or it's anything of your interest. I think reading is very important because it makes us think, it makes us visualize, it makes us imagine a lot of scenarios, and the more we imagine, the more our cerebral cortex it grows, the more intelligent we become. अभी क्या है कि we are seeing a lot of things, उसको हम process भी नहीं करते हैं, we just see, we absorb, we go in our own spiral, that okay, she's looking a certain way, I'm not looking like her, and I need to look better, I need to have a better life, मेरे घर पे एक Lamborghini होनी चाहिए, all those sort of like things come to our mind. So
या
so I think it's all about the visual platform, the visual life that we are living in. So it's very important to take a detox right now to understand that what actually gives happiness to you. And I think physical health, mental health, and a continuous growth in your life. These are the three things which would sort out a lot of things in a lot of people's life. It's a gender neutral thing. It's not only about women. Yeah, if
ट्रू।
anybody is taking care of their mind, body, and your, if you believe in spirit, so if you're taking care of the spirit, I think everything is been taken care of, because everything else is a very transactional thing. Your money, your career, the kind of society you're living in, it's very transactional. One day it's there, other day it's not. So yeah.
सोशल मीडिया है, वो हमेशा रहेगा, उसको ईविल बना के कुछ नहीं होने वाला। अपने आप पे वर्क करो, अपनी चीज़ों को चेंज करो, तो आई थिंक विल डू बेटर। और अगर फ़ैशन की बात करें, तो फ़ैशन के जो रूल्स हैं, बहुत सारे हैं, रिटेन, अनरिटेन, बट व्हेन इट इफ इट कम्स टू यू कि अनुजा, टुडे यू कैन चेंज रूल्स ऑफ फ़ैशन, तो व्हाट विल यू चेंज फर्स्ट?
सो आई थिंक मैथी द रूल्स ऑफ फैशन हर ईयर चेंज हो रहे हैं, हर
हुँ,
वीक चेंज हो रहे हैं, हर मंथ चेंज हो रहे हैं। सो अगर मेरे हाथ में होता टू जस्ट टू रीराइट द रूल्स ऑफ फैशन, आई थिंक देयर आर टू थिंग्स दैट आई वुड inculcate in that. First thing is empathy, and other thing is access. Now, what do I mean by that? So by empathy, I mean being conscious about the difference which is there in the society. For example, if we look at the collections which come out every 3 months in the fashion shows, we see kind of a similar representation. We see petite models, like slim models. Now we are seeing dark models as well. But the kind of category of representation is still same. We are not seeing every kind of a body type, every kind of a ethnicity on the ramps. So we are not seeing much of that in the representation in the industry, right? The other thing is that we are not seeing the disability on the ramps in the way that it need to be represented, because there is a larger chunk of our society which is battling that. So if a person is living with a kind of a disability or kind of a deformity, so that takes a toll on their mental health already. And if they are fighting a battle choosing clothes for them in the market, so that adds on to their already growing stress in their lives. So, if I was to change the rule of the fashion, so I think first thing is bringing empathy into fashion. Like, you don't need to look a certain way in order to go to a Prada or a Chanel showroom to buy certain things. You can look the way that you want to. The brands would cater to you, because it's the provider and and the customer relationship. It's not the other way around. These brands, these particular companies, they need to serve us. They need to give us the things that we need, not the other way around. We don't need to carve our bodies. We don't need to carve our society, or our aura altogether in order to buy a Chanel dress. They need to make dresses which would suit every body type. And the other thing is access. Right now we don't have easy access to a lot of brands who are actually thinking about the society, who are actually thinking about gender neutral clothing, androgynous clothing, or body positivity, or size inclusive clothes. So we don't have a better access to those brands. People who are buying online, there are all sorts of discrepancies which are there, but there are not very many stores around us which provide that kind of branding in their stores. So I think being empathetic enough, and having an easy access, that would ease out a lot of things. And these are basics. It's not something which is out of the blue. It is like it is a basic thing. We need to take care of the people who are living around us as a fashion brand, and we need to be easily available for them to buy things. So I think these are two things which I would, if it was in my hands to change anything, I would bring about that.
Mhm. Yeah, I think these are two very important changes that need to come from inside out. Or because we are talking about these changes, Anuja, do you think there are any brands or designers who have got it almost right, जहाँ पे fashion थोड़ा inclusive है, thoughtful है और liberating है?
Yes, of course. So, Matthew, there are a lot of brands which are actually working on that. There is a brand name as Doodlage. There is a brand named Universal Standards, and the name itself suggests that it's about universal standards. So they have like size inclusive clothing. But there are a lot of like generic brands as well who are working on that. For example, we don't talk much about Zudio. Zudio is a brand which is offering a lot of size ranges. They have a lot of variety in sense of color combinations, and what would suit a particular body type or whatnot. So these are the brands which are easily, and I took the name of Zudio only for the fact that it's easily available in the market, and the
Mhm.
price range that it serves, it's very affordable in nature. So fashion is something which is changing every day. Even if we talk about slow fashion, even if we talk about sustainability, we are still on the ride of fast fashion. You would want to buy a dress for every occasion of your life. You would want to buy a new pair of jeans for every trip that you go to, right? So the fast fashion is the reality of our times. Do we need to change that reality? Yes, we do. We need to be more conscious about environment. We need to have more sustainable brands in the market. But till the time we reach that goal, we need to be thoughtful about the things that we are buying. So there are very many brands which are available in the market who are providing a good variety of clothes with respect to size, color, and everything. The only problem in that is they are secluded from the aisle. You would have to go to, probably triple XL or four time 4XL or whatever. So that'll be a different section altogether. You would have to ask the person in the store that where do I find, such kind of, price or such kind of like a size range. So I think that's why I talk about empathy a lot, because once you are empathetic about, what psychology goes on behind that, you'll become more accessible to the customers, because you need to keep everything together for them to make them to be comfortable in their own body. You cannot take them out from the normal lot and then say that, okay, this is also normal. Why are you even taking them out? Just keep them there. Just make the society which is palatable to that kind of a section as well. And this is not just size inclusive. This is also having clothes for transgenders. It's very important. I think
Mm.
UP has come a long way when you talk about making toilets for the transgenders. Now we need to have like a brands who are catering to transgenders, who are catering to cis people, who are catering to binary, non-binary, everyone. So I think, and that should become a norm. That should not be like tagged as a brand who are just making clothes for, let's say, trans, because then
Mm.
again that'll become like a stigma in the society, because we are very good in creating stigmas out of things, like a particular section needs to look at b particular segment in a particular way. So I think this is very important, and yes, there are a lot of brands who are coming up, but the thing is that we need to support them more, and we as in customers. So if they don't have very many customers in the market, how would they even survive? So I think it's all comes down to demand and supply rule. So life is all about
Mm.
basics. We only complicate things in our head and bring out different connotations, different notifications and everything in our life. Life is very simple. We just need love
Mm.
in our life. We need people to understand our problems and let us live the way that we want to, and let
Mm.
others also live the way that they want to. So I think this is all that I
Yeah,
want to say for
I like this idea of keeping all the sizes together as you mentioned, क्योंकि
now.
जैसे वेस्ट साइड का एग्जांपल लें तो उसमें क्या है, कर्व्स का एक सेक्शन बना हुआ है।
Yes,
तो उसकी जगह जो उसके कपड़े होते हैं वो भी डिफरेंट होते हैं। मैंने भी मतलब मुझे भी लगता है अगर मैं उस तरफ जाऊँगी तो कोई सोचेगा कि ओह! ये तो प्लस साइज़ है, राइट?
yes. Yeah.
तो उसकी जगह इफ यू हैव इट इन द सेम सेक्शन, वही डिज़ाइन हो, वही स्टाइल हो, आपको कैसे पता कि प्लस साइज़ का पर्सन अपनी बॉडी को हाइड ही करना चाहता है, वो लूज़ फिट ही पहनना
Correct.
चाहता है, वो लॉन्ग टॉप्स ही पहनना चाहता है, राइट? मेबी दे वांट टू वियर समथिंग एल्स, तो लेट देम एन्जॉय ऑल्सो। क्योंकि कई बार ये लगता है ना लोगों को कि ब्रांड्स को कि हम बनाएँगे और वो वेस्ट हो जाएगा, बट मुझे नहीं लगता, बिकॉज़ द रेंज ऑफ साइज़ेज़ इन दिस वर्ल्ड, इन इवन इन आवर कंट्री इज़ ह्यूज, और अगर हम सबको
And we
कैटर
don't
कर
want to
पा
even
रहे
talk
हैं।
about the wastage, because as such, fashion is the maximum waste generator in the world. So it is
हुँ,
at the top of generating waste. So we are already generating a lot of fashion waste in the
हुँ।
environment. So just be okay in creating clothes for the people who want to fit in.
या इफ यू सी ना, सेल जब सेल होता है किसी भी प्रोडक्ट पे, सारे बड़े साइज़ेज़ जा चुके होते हैं। ये क्या दिखा रहा है हमें? यही दिखा रहा है ना कि बड़े साइज़ेज़ के लोग ज़्यादा हैं। एवरी टाइम देयर इज़ अ सेल ऑन सम वेबसाइट, हम जाएँगे तो एक्स्ट्रा स्मॉल और स्मॉल साइज़ ही बचा होगा। H&M में
Correct.
जो सेल सेक्शन होगा उसमें वही साइज़ेज़ बचे होंगे। इसका मतलब है कि देयर इज़ मोर डिमांड फॉर लार्जर साइज़ेज़ और हम वही नहीं बना रहे हैं।
Right.
है ना? तो लास्ट में अ, अनुजा, आई वांट टू आस्क यू कि आप फैशन में काम करते हो, आप फैशन पसंद करते हो, तो व्हाट इज़ दैट वन पीस ऑफ क्लोथिंग दैट मेक्स यू फील लाइक द मोस्ट पावरफुल वर्ज़न ऑफ योरसेल्फ?
So I think for me, Maitri, it's different types of clothing for different occasions. For
Hmm.
example, at certain occasions, I'll wear a sari and I'll feel very, beautiful and powerful and, hep in the market. But on the other day, probably I'll just wear a white t-shirt and a jeans and a pair of sneakers, and I'll feel very powerful, because that's how our mentality changes every day. At certain days, we want to dress up well, we want to give in that extra effort in our wardrobe in order to, dress up well for the day. But on the other days, we just want to, don't want to like exert too much in the way that we look, in the way that we want to dress up, but still we want to look good and, feel respected and, being feel heard. So there is no specific clothing item that makes me feel, powerful. But yes, I think sari is one thing which I love. I love wearing saris, and I think that brings out the femininity inside of me. I am a feminist, but I'm also female on the other day. So, I love wearing saris. I love wearing, shirts and, trousers, everything. So I think you don't need to confine yourself in a particular, clothing criteria as well. So you need to try
Hmm.
out everything. Certain things which, of course, that would, suit your body more than the other things. So we understand that in our, growing ages, in our, in our youth, and then once we touch 30, we become very sure about, how we want our wardrobe to look like. But having said that, I think there are a lot of females in society who are still experimenting, and so, we should allow them to experiment as well. So there is no particular way of living your life. So it's all about contradictions. So, I might like ethnic one day, but might hate it the other day and want to, look like, wear a pencil skirt or, high heels or something like that. So, it's all about contradictions. And the more you normalize contradictions in your life, I think life becomes very easy, because we always confine ourselves to believing that we believe in a certain way. So there is nothing like that. We believe a certain way on a particular day, but we would believe almost the opposite on the other day. And these contradictions are normal. We are human beings, right? हमारा दिमाग change होता रहता है, and being a woman, I think a lot of hormonal change that goes on inside our body. So उसकी वजह से हमारी mentality, हमारी what we think about, what we believe in, वो सब change होता रहता है. तो आई थिंक इस चेंज को जितनी जल्दी हम एक्सेप्ट कर लेंगे और इसको नॉर्मलाइज कर देंगे, इट विल बी easier for people to accept us as well, because in that case we'll be in a lesser war like situation in our bodies and in our minds. बिकॉज इट्स ओके कि अगर मैं आज मूडी हूँ तो इट्स ओके, ठीक है, कल मैं ठीक हो जाऊंगी. अगर कल मैं गुस्सा हूँ तो मैं परसों ठीक हो जाऊंगी, सो इट्स फाइन. So, the
Hmm.
more we make the life, of the people around us easy, I think it comes back to us as well. So I think,
Hmm.
just
Yeah.
sticking to one particular opinion, I think I'm not a very opinionated person. I'm very flexible in my attitude towards my work, towards my life. I would listen to a lot of people, choose the best that I want to do. I'm not very opinionated in my work as well. So I have people who would give me a lot of opinions, and I would listen to those people, because I'm not, perfect in every sense. I might be a good editor, I might be a good, a leader, but I might not know what's going on in AI. So I would have to
Hmm.
listen to a lot of people. And I think अभी क्या प्रॉब्लम हो रही है मैत्री, that with ये जो बहुत ज्यादा conversation चल रहा है regarding feminism and power clothing, and we need to be boss of our own self, and we are strong and everything like that. So this is somewhere taking away the femininity from our bodies, from our psychology, from the way that we are living our life. And I think being feminine is all about grace, is about nurturing the environment that we are living in, is being polite in our personality. Being bold is good, but for what? If you have a good context in which you are being bold, if you are standing up to a cause, then it's very good, but you don't need to be fighting a war every day in your life. So, a lot of times is also very important to give up. I think it's a very contradictory sentence altogether, but it's very important to choose your battles and give up on the other situations, because that will, kind of save your power in fighting your real battles. So I
हाँ,
think
हर चीज़ को अपनी एनर्जी देने की
हर चीज
ज़रूरत
को
नहीं है।
एग्जैक्टली, और हर चीज से लड़ने की भी जरूरत नहीं है. इफ अ
हुँ।
पर्सन इज नॉट अंडरस्टैंडिंग योर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, इट्स ओके. हम दुनिया को चेंज नहीं कर सकते हैं, एंड अभी जिस सिचुएशन में हम रह रहे हैं, आई थिंक इट्स द वर्स्ट, काइंड ऑफ situation which can be there in the world right now, because our economies are changing, our our pattern of trade is changing, everything is changing, right? So इस केस में आई थिंक जितने फ्लेक्सिबल हम होंगे फ्यूचर में हमारे लिए संभावनाएं उतनी ज्यादा हो जाती हैं.
Yes, and I think that's the perfect way to close our conversation. But
Thank
before
you.
I let you go, Anuja, tell us about Pop Dapp.
Of course, I would love to. Pop Up is my baby. So, Pop Dap started with the concept of starting something new for the market, right? So I don't have like a fashion background. I don't have a conventional education in fashion. I'm an engineer. Then I did my MBA. So then I worked for 3, 4 years. Then, this whole concept came along because I always loved fashion magazines. I always, grew up reading fashion magazines. I had Vogues and Else lying around in my house just for the fact that they were glossy, they were very, they were very beautiful to look to. But I never thought of starting one on my own. So Pop Tap has now become like a global media, and it's also a fashion magazine which is on the digital and the print platform. So I'm planning to expand its future in the further in the future markets in the coming years. And right now we are there in UAE, we are in Europe, we are in US and India, of course. So that's how my life goes around, and I'm learning something new every day, and looking forward to learning better things for the future as well.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you so much, Anuja, for talking about all of these things, which a lot of people might think कि frivolous हैं fashion के बारे में, but I don't think fashion is frivolous क्योंकि वो हमारी हमसे connected है, हमारी society से connected है. So thank you for
Right.
talking about it. Thank you for giving us something to think about and take away from this conversation.
Thank you so much, Maitri, for having me. And you have an in-depth knowledge about everything that you talk about. And I think it's like a tennis game that was going around. I was talking about certain things, and you were giving an insight about that. So it's always give and take of the energy. So I cannot work in silos, and and so is for everyone. And I think these conversations are very important for our society. So I think if like even one person listens to and his or her life changes because of this conversation, I'll be more than happy.
Yes.